Yes, sir. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy D-Mills. And as you guys can see by that title, you already know what the fuck going on, man. Look, I'm gonna have y'all saying that shit for real. But look, we got 10 worst school punishments ever. What is she doing? What is this? What is this? But look, let's get straight to the video, man.
Like and subscribe right now, or you are going to have bad luck for the rest of the week.
All of us have received some kind of punishment in school as a kid.
If you guys have ever had school punishment, any type of punishment at school, drop down in the comment section. Let me know what was your worst school punishment.
But the form of punishment today is supposed to be less severe than before. But
my bad. After this, I'm gonna get straight to it. But I know when I first moved out here to Alabama, they had this thing where you could paddle kids. My parents weren't having that shit. Ain't nobody whooping my ass but my parents. And even if my parents did accept that shit, sign a paper saying paddle him if he gets in trouble, I'm tearing that school up. I'm gonna be a school threat. I'm gonna fuck up any damn teacher that try to paddle me. Honestly. Alright, let's get straight to the video.
But sometimes teachers and schools take things just too far. The worst school punishments are not just physical. They are also mental and psychological. Here are 10 of the worst school punishments some unfortunate kids had to bear. Number 1 will give you chills, so watch out for that. Frozen peas. We bet this student will never look at the frozen vegetable section of the grocery store the same way again. When one student was being disobedient, the teacher forced her to kneel on frozen peas as her punishment, and the result...
So you just got frozen peas, frozen vegetables on go for punishment? Nah, that ain't it. That ain't it.
Result? Her legs were littered with multiple deep pea-shaped
that's
indents.
messed up,
Her
man.
shirt didn't disappear after an hour or two. While this punishment doesn't seem too cruel or unusual, it's becoming more popular in Asian countries, and it is not only limited to school. It's happening in homes as well. It is more likely to occur in Chinese homes. The reason it is becoming more popular is that the teachers think that the pain or probably the embarrassment of the punishment would motivate students to perform better behaviorally as well as educationally.
Honestly, that's just gonna make me hate you, for real. It's not gonna make me respect you. None of that. I'm not gonna like you at all. I'm not gonna listen to you.
Most commonly used on the misbehaved students, and if frozen peas.
Hey, this will honestly make kids a school threat. Honestly, like, come on, man. You ain't gotta worry about students bullying you, but you gotta worry about teachers doing shit like this to you. Man, what?
Available, frozen corn or uncooked rice will work just as well. There's nothing like putting someone through excruciating pain to get your point across. Don't play with your hair. If you've ever had a sister, it's safe to say that you threatened to cut off her hair at one point or another. But have you actually done it? One day in class, 7-year-old Lamea Common was playing with her braids, and when the teacher asked her to stop, she, like any 7-year-old that likes to push buttons, didn't stop. The teacher then asked her to come up to her desk for a piece of candy. She quickly proceeded to the teacher's desk, but when she got there, the teacher took out her scissors and cut off one of her braids, all without saying anything. The girl was shocked and started to cry as she returned to her desk, and the other students...
My mama would be to the school in 0.3 seconds if a teacher ever touched a little hair on my head. That's crazy. What kind of punishment is that? That's fucked up, honestly.
Laughed at her. The teacher would then explain to her enraged mother that she did it because she was frustrated. The teacher was fined $175 and faced some disciplinary action from the school. Little Amaya was transferred to a different class. The starvation method. If withholding recess doesn't do the trick, you can always withhold lunch. One afternoon at Bethune Elementary and Middle School, a huge food fight broke out in the cafeteria. Instead of punishing only the students that were involved, the school decided to refrain from serving lunch to all 6th, 7th, and 8th graders for an entire week. Each child was sent home with a letter that they were required to bring their own food if they wanted to have lunch. Given that this one is reported to be one of Michigan's worst performing schools, it really comes as no surprise that they would do this. Parents were obviously angered by the cruel and unusual punishment. What's even more disturbing that many of the other students are less fortunate and receive free meals at school, so by taking that away, they likely would not get any meals
That's
at
messed
all.
up.
Fortunately,
Not
the
all kids
Education
have food at
Achievement
home.
Authority heard about the punishment and had a chat with the Bethune administration.
Yeah, I had to, I didn't grow up with money and stuff like that, I had free lunches. That's messed up because I sure as hell couldn't make my own food and bring it to school. There was 5 of us. My mama had 5 of us. And if she would have caught me trying to make a lunch for school, I would have got my ass whooped.
The punishment. We're not sure you could stoop much lower than taking food away from children that desperately need it. Make love, not war. While this next punishment may have worked when you were 5 years old and fighting with your siblings, it certainly isn't appropriate for high schoolers. After 2 male students attending Westwood High in Mesa, Arizona were caught fighting, they were given 2 options: be suspended or publicly hold hands for 15 minutes in the school courtyard. They chose to hold hands because what high schooler would when they know they would have to face their parents if they chose suspension? During the hand-holding session, other students made fun of them, yelled inappropriate slurs, and used anti-gay language. Some students claimed that it was sending the wrong message about being gay by using same-sex hand-holding as a form of punishment. However, the principal had many supporters at the school, and they reminded everyone that it was their choice to hold hands, and that it was never meant to reinforce negative thoughts about gays. Segregated lunchroom. Being refused lunch as an entire student body doesn't sound so bad after hearing this story. A group of Hispanic students was refilling their cooler with a water jug when they ended up spilling water all over the floor. All it would have taken is a mop to clean up the harmless mess, but instead, the vice principal, who was an African American, decided to punish all of the 5th grade Hispanics, some which weren't even there on the day when the water was spilled. What do you think their punishment could be for spilling a little bit of water? Well, it turned out that it was to eat lunch on the ground with nothing but paper liners separating their food from the dirty and disgusting.
You sleep. You real sleep for that. I'm sleep. You done with that? You think I'm gonna eat some food off the floor?
Gym floor.
That's crazy.
For 10 days, those Hispanic students sat on the floor eating off of thin sheets of paper while the African American students sat at lunch tables with trays and poked fun at them. When their teacher told the children to tell their parents about what was happening, the good-hearted mentor was fired, but when the students' parents did finally find out, 7 out of the 15 families involved sued the school, winning a $500,000 lawsuit.
Yes, sir. Get
the
that
teacher
check.
that was fired also received $75,000. Sadly, this story goes to show that segregation is still ever present in today's society, and even in our elementary schools. Bullied by the teacher. At one particular school, the kids are the ones you need to look out for. Rather, it's the teachers.
Facts, man.
One day in a kindergarten class, 5-year-old Alex Barton,
these teachers really be out here tweaking,
kept disrupting class by kicking
they be
the other
abusing
students,
their power,
throwing and eating crayons, and crawling under tables. Unable to stop this behavior, the teacher sent him to the principal's office. After a discussion with the associate principal, Alex returned to the class. When he returned to class, the teacher had already devised a method of punishing him and told him to stand in the front of the class and instructed the other students to tell him why they didn't like him. After all the students have told their opinion about Alex, she went on telling him that she hated him and didn't like him at all. when she went on asking other students whether or not Alex should be allowed to stay in the class for the rest of the day, and only 2 good-hearted students took his side while the other 14 voted him out. Humiliated by the teacher and his class fellows, poor Alex spent the rest of the day in the nurse's office and suffered severe emotional damage following the incident. With that type of adults who are supposed to be role models,
kids,
it's no
man.
wonder where children
These are
learn
kids.
how to be bullies. Strip search.
Let me find out somebody like one of you teachers messing with my daughter and shit. I'm coming straight to the school, man. Swear to God I am. And I already know my daughter, she gonna snitch. Right off the bat, she snitched.
Apparently, one school thought all they needed was a hunch to strip search a student when the vice principal caught a girl with prescription-strength ibuprofen. She said she got it from Savannah Reddy, an honor roll student who had no prior substance or disciplinary issues. After hearing this rumor, the vice principal and the administrative assistant pulled her out of class to check her backpack. When they did not find any trace of drugs in her bag, the vice principal ordered the school nurse to strip search because he was convinced that she was carrying them in her underwear.
That
She
good
was
gas.
asked to shake out her bra and pulled the elastic of her underwear to see if anything would fall out, but no drugs were found. Now, being a 13-year-old girl is already hard enough, but when you're forced to take off all of your clothes in front of a stranger, it could take a toll on your emotional well-being.
Yeah, that's
Humiliated,
fucked up, man.
she left the school and understandably did not want to come back ever. The girl's mother filed a lawsuit that reached the U.S. Supreme Court 6 years later. Fortunately, the court agreed that the search violated the student's constitutional rights, and she won a long-winded battle. Draw, or not. Apparently, kids nowadays can even get into trouble for playing cops and robbers.
What?
Mason Jammer was acting just like any ordinary 6-year-old on the playground when he
It's a
put his
game.
hand like a gun and began pointing it at his friends, something most kids have probably done at one point or another in their lives. Well, the school wasn't too happy about the situation and suspended the little boy for 2 days.
I literally got in trouble for pointing my phone case at my teacher like it was a gun. She was like, "Are you threatening me?" I said, "What? So you think I'm threatening you because I'm holding my phone case up in the air, like, you know? I got ISS. I most definitely got in trouble."
They backed up their punishment with a zero-tolerance gun and violence policy. The school claimed that the other students were uncomfortable with the situation and that Mason had already been warned about holding up his handgun. But was the child going around pretending to shoot other students? Probably not. In fact, Mason Jammer had never shown any violent tendencies and never even showed up to his school with a toy gun. Juvenile delinquents. Nothing scares a kid more than getting arrested, especially if they've done something illegal, such as shoplifting the candy bar they've had their eye on.
Shit, who hasn't
But
stolen
this school
candy?
district took things a bit too far.
I did
There
that
have
shit
been
for
so
a
many
hobby.
youth arrests at the Meridian,
Don't
Mississippi
steal
School
kids.
District that the Department of Justice had
Do not
accused
steal.
it of running a school-to-prison pipeline. For at least 6 years now, a minimum of 7 students of color were suspended and even arrested for minor infractions that included wearing inappropriately colored socks, being tardy, and racing to the bathroom without permission to prevent an embarrassing accident from occurring in class. After being arrested, they were thrown in jail without a hearing
They're
or
like
a
2
right
years
to
old.
an
What they
attorney,
doing?
and most of them didn't
Look
even
at that.
understand their rights, considering that some of them were as young as just 10 years old. The worst part is that the parents had no idea until the child was in lockup, and they would sometimes stay in jail for days at a time. In addition to this, a large number of students with disabilities were expelled or suspended at alarming rates for similar minor violence. The Department of Justice reported the issue to Lauderdale County, and after no response, they filed a civil rights lawsuit. What kind of bizarre punishments have you suffered in school? Let us...
Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys spam my IG and my Twitter, IAMDmills. I'll get back to you guys in the next video.